Hi there, welcome to Floating in Dreams. Today we're going to be doing a top 5, bottom 5 with MAC. Welcome to everybody watching today. If you're into eyeshadow palettes, accessories, and getting the use out of your makeup the way I like to go about things, then you're in for a ride, because today we're going to be talking about a brand that I've used quite a lot over the years. MAC used to be the be-all and end-all of makeup, especially at the start of YouTube. I still remember MAC was the hyped up brand, and definitely some of these things kind of date back to the point in time where MAC was the king of all makeup brands. But over time there have definitely been a lot of brands that have launched, so I feel that MAC isn't talked about as much anymore as it used to, but I have tried quite a few products by them, and I just wanted to tell you which ones I think are definitely worth it and which products from MAC you may want to stay away from. So that's what we're doing in today's video. And in case you're new here, then it may be good to know that I have fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone, which greatly skews my makeup preferences. And because I have been buying, trying, and reviewing makeup for more than a decade, I have some very strong preferences as well. So if you'd like to join the Snow Angel Club, then definitely click subscribe down below. Yes, top 5, bottom 5, that's what I have for you today. And I do want to comment here really quickly too, even though this is probably going to be the last one in a while that I will be able to do, that I just need to point out that the bottom 5 doesn't mean I don't like it. Just because a product is in my bottom 5, it just means that I would not recommend you spend your money on this. That doesn't mean it's a bad product. But that nuance is lost on a lot of people. I especially noticed this when I posted my last one in November, which was Lisa Eldridge, where people just really didn't understand that just because these aren't my top favorites, that I still like these products, even though I would not recommend those are the things you first buy from the brand. That's sort of where I'm coming from with this video, where the top favorites, so my top 5 is the products that I feel these are the cream of the crop. If you're looking into buying this brand, that's where I would recommend you start. The bottom 5 are the things that I have in my collection where I'm like you could stay away from those and you probably would miss a lot. That's just the way I feel about these things. I always like to start these videos with the bottom 5 first, because I want to end the video on a high note. So let me get to my bottom 5 MAC product. So my first bottom 5 is MAC's Strobe Cream. Now don't get me wrong, I really like this product. I actually have a full-size backup of this because I really liked it when I used it. But this is one of those products where I feel like I can just live without this. And I'll tell you a bit of an anecdote of this being a product that has sort of been with me for a long time, because I think when I first started wearing makeup, we're talking nearly 15 years ago, I got myself to a MAC counter and got one of their appointments where the makeup artist does your makeup, and then the money for the appointment you can use towards buying makeup. And this was one of the products she already used on my face at the time. However, at the time, my makeup routine, also because I had limited funds because I was working my very first job out of college, I just didn't really see the point of using something like this. I now use a primer on a daily basis. I like glowy primers, and I think the MAC Strobe Cream, as far as glowy primers go, is one of the best ones on the market. It's just not the part where I was like, if you'd never bought anything from MAC, where would you start? I wouldn't make it primer. This is okay. You can buy the Milani Prime Light and you'll have yourself a dupe of this at a far more affordable price point that is about as nice. It's dupable. It's nothing special, which is why it's a bottom 5. Now MAC, there are 2 types of MAC products that I feel that even when back in the day when MAC was the be-all and end-all of all makeup, there were 2 types of product I felt a lot of people struggled with. It was mascara and concealer, but I have to report to you that I have found a concealer that I like enough. This is the Studio Fix Smoothwear Concealer. I have this in shade NW15. And I like this a lot. There is one downside to it, and that it's quite thick. So I actually had to put this out of my shop, my stash, because I had decided that I would want to try use this up. But because it has such a thick consistency, you only need very little. And because I do have some dryness and some fine lines, I felt that now we're moving into winter. This is definitely going to be a product that I have to just stop using because it just accentuates it all. This is more of a summertime product for me, so hopefully like by like April, May, I can go back to this and use it up because I like it enough for that. But I also don't think I would repurchase once this is gone. And I've used it quite a bit. Actually, if I lay it down on its side, you can already see a bit of a gap in the product, which I think shows you that I do like this product enough to use it up. But again, in terms of MAC products, where do you start? It isn't concealer. And I think this is a bit of an even more controversial opinion, but they're foundations. This is the Waterweight foundation from MAC. I actually used this up in the past, so I like this a lot. The product itself is wonderful. I've used one of the face and body foundations up in the past as well. Like, MAC is a brand that does the kind of workhorse products that I appreciate and like enough to use them up, but they're just not standouts in my makeup collection. And I feel that that's why I'm putting this foundation in the bottom 5. This is in NC15, and this is another reason why I don't love MAC base products. Their shade range just doesn't cater for a lot of undertones. They have NC, not cool, and NW, not warm, but I, with a neutral undertone, have been able to find shades in both lines. So I can just stick to the range because the concealer is in NW15. This is in NC15. And that also means that, for instance, the NW15 can be sometimes a bit darker than the NC15. So the shade ranges in MAC have always confused the heck out of me. Their undertones just don't cater to neutral or olive skin tones, and they have been doing the same thing for a while. So even though they do a wide range of of depth, they just don't really do a lot of undertones, and I find it always a little bit confusing to find my shade. And the reason why I never repurchased the face and body was because of the one I had, C1, was too yellow, because I think the other one was like W1 or whatever it was called. I don't remember the shade range, but that was far too dark for me. So the lightest shade in the opposite undertone was too dark, and the one that was the closest match to me was too yellow. So I've never been able to really find my shade range in that. However, I have been told that they have updated the shade range in the face and body now that it's had a bit of a rebrand. So that one's like still tickling the back of my head to try at some point. But I've been trying a lot of foundation in the past 2 years. So at this point in time, I need to stop buying them and start using them up, because else I just need to throw away a lot of foundation. And this is another one of those, like, I love the texture of this. I love it. It's just shade ranges in MAC with a neutral undertone I find nearly impossible to find. And then a OG favorite product of mine that I've dethroned as a top favorite product, it's the Skin Finish Natural. So they do skin finishes, and they do a lot of different ones. They do glowy ones, they do that. This is essentially a mineral face powder. And I have this in the shade medium, and the way I've always used this, and I've used up the first one I ever owned, used it up completely from start to finish. This comes with a little dome. This is also a little bit more flat as well, even. And I was always using this in the summertime. So what I would do in the summertime, at the height of summer, when I don't want to wear a lot of makeup, I would just use a little bit of concealer and then use this as a powder foundation. It's not powder foundation, but just to give a little bit of coverage and just do that. This doesn't work for me over makeup. So if I already wear a foundation, this isn't going to work. But with the advent of the skin tint, I now have foundations that I like to wear in the summertime. So I no longer need this in my life. So this has been dethroned because it's not a good like setting powder for me. This is one that I need to pretty much wear on like bare skin, and that's how I've used it a lot, but it's just a bit of a limiting way of using it. As I've mentioned, I've used one of these up in the past. I still like this, but it currently has no more use in my makeup collection. And other powders that I've used from MAC, I used to love their Prep and Prime Press powder, which they've discontinued. So the other powders they have there, it's either far too full coverage or way too drying on my dry skin, because they tend to focus more so on true setting powders. And I wish that if this came in a more lightweight, like a more lightweight formula, something like the ambient lighting powder from Hourglass, I might fall in love with this again. So maybe if you have a powder recommendation from MAC, maybe there's something I should try, but it might, like, from what I've swatched and what I've tried, it's just not really good for my skin. And finally, I don't think you should go to MAC for eyeshadow. Now this isn't just MAC, it's also got some Makeup Geek in. Because I fused mine together because these are some of the oldest singles I have. I mean, I've got the classics. I've got my Wood Winged and my Patina. You can see I've got some good size dents in some of these as well. Like, these have gotten used. But I think that by now you can find much more affordable eyeshadow that is much better in terms of quality. Also, especially as singles, something like Sydney Grace. Their singles are around the $5 or $6 mark. I know that in the US, MAC has changed their pricing. In some territories, they've changed the pricing. But over here, a MAC single is like, what, by now 15 euros? Like, they've never dropped the price on these. And they're just too expensive for what they do, really. I mean, in terms of single shadows, you can just find better things. So Sydney Grace would be my pick because that's my favorite singles brand for, like, especially like your basic neutrally shades like I have here. Do I still like this? Do I still wear these? Oh yes, I do. I've put a lot of these shades into my custom singles palettes over the past year. So I do still really like the ones I have, but I don't look into buying any more of these, and they're just a bit too expensive for what it is, really. But now, on to my top 5 favorite MAC items, and I have to show you a brush. I don't own a lot of MAC brushes. In fact, this is the only one, I believe. This is a MAC 217. It's so well used that the name of the brush has rubbed off. It's dirty because I use this every single day. I use this for my crease. I've used it today as well. I use it every single day to apply and blend eyeshadow in my crease. It's small enough that it works in my crease. Very often crease brushes for my lids are just far too big, or they're too fluffy. Like, they will have the right size, but then I start using them and then the shadow goes all over the place because I have very little control with it. This brush gives me the control I need. It's got the right size. Like, look at that. It just fits perfectly right into the crease, and I love it for that. I still have one with natural hair back when they did that. I've never tried the synthetic ones. I have a short-handled version of this in backup with the goat hair because I am scared to death that this will be like falling apart at some point because I use it so much. But this is my favorite all-time brush for the crease, which is why it needs a mention in the top 5. Another mention in the top 5, and this shows you that I've sort of found other favorites in the MAC line, because a couple of years ago, if I would have done this video, I would have never shown you MAC highlighters. But their extra dimension skin finishes, oh my. This is the one in Double Gleam, which is great if you have my kind of skin tone. Like, if you have fair skin, this is lovely. But I prefer Show Gold. And this is great for me in the summertime. It's that peachy, pinky gold. It's got a bit of gold, a bit of peach, a bit of pink. And it just looks really stunning if you're wearing like a more warm-toned corally blush. It blends, like, I love using highlighter first and then blush. And then I feel that this highlighter really also comes to the forefront. It is a little bit deeper, but I love highlighters that sort of blend into my skin, and I feel this doesn't leave a dark cast for me. Really great formula, and I really like these. I need to throw them in to shop my stashes more often, but yeah, this is another reminder to myself that I need to put double Gleam into a next shop my stash for sure. Another product from MAC that I didn't love before until I tried this. Their blushes. So MAC blushes were raved about for years, and I tried so many formulas. I tried the Frost, I tried the Mineralized, I tried the Matte, I have gone through quite a few different MAC blushes, very often from limited edition collections over the years. I mean, if you look at any of my like collection and declutter videos that I have up on the channel, I have a declutter playlist, so you can watch like way back when, like from like 5 or 6 years ago when I still had a couple of those, and I just didn't love them. I just didn't love MAC blush, and I just thought, well, MAC is just not my brand for blushes. And then I heard people raving about these glow play things, saying how they were limited edition. I was like, oh, then I'm probably not going to be able to get them. But then I found Heat Index. And the glow play blushes are, I keep these with my regular blushes, but you could also categorize them as a cream, because they are a cream to powder formula. And especially the shade Heat Index, like I've used this so much. It's really great. I apply these with fingers because that's my favorite way to use them. Reminds me a lot of like ColourPop Super Shocks, but the shades of these are so stunning. Like this on your cheeks in the summertime is stunning. And because I loved it so much, I got another one. This is Rosie Does It. I love this thing. This is such a nice one. And by the way, if I have reviews for any of these up on the blog, I'll make sure to link you to those. So if you want to see swatches, etc., you can. I don't like doubling up on content. I know that people get angry with me for not putting swatches in this video, but you can literally open the description box and click a link. It takes 12 seconds to do that, and then you can just have a gander. So this is another shade that I love. And then because I like those so much, I was like, maybe I should, because I like the extra dimension highlighters, maybe I'll like an extra dimension blush. So I tried this. This is the Dilly Dolly extra dimension blush. It was from a limited edition collection. And this is such a nice brighter pink with a bit of a golden flip to it. This is so pretty for like late winter, early spring. So pretty. And I really like the formula on that. And then I got myself a darker shade again. That's how I go about my blush collection. I usually have like a brighter or a lighter, more neutrally shade, and like something darker, more intense. This is Rosy Cheeks, and this is from their standard range, and this is described as a magenta. I'm pretty sure that this is more aimed at deeper skin tones, but I have found, mainly through using cream blushes like Heat Index, that these more intense shades with a light hand can look really nice, because very often I have found that deeper blush shades in many ranges are cooler toned than the lighter things. A lot of brands put a lot of peach in their lighter tone blushes, but in these darker, more intense shades, like you can almost see that it has like a blue flip to it. Works really well on me. If you want that like just in from the cold kind of look, this is a contender for like my January Shop My Stash for sure. But where would we be on this channel without this little guy? This is the Paint Pot in Painterly. This is the third one of these that I own. And I use this every single day as a base underneath my eyeshadow. I double prime my lids. I did a short where I show you the technique I use. I just apply a clear primer, usually the Milani eyeshadow primer, first when I start doing my makeup. Then I do the rest of my makeup, and then when I get to the eye look, I use my MAC Paint Pot in Painterly, which I set with a like my skin tone kind of eyeshadow. This is the sticky base that I need to block out the redness and veining on my lids. If I use this by itself and I don't set it, it doesn't stay put, which is why I put the other primer underneath it to get the longevity that I need for my eyeshadow to last all day. But I also want something that actually like makes sure the eyeshadow looks more vibrant and blended and all that. If the eyeshadow, like the eyeshadow I'm currently using is also by MAC, it's vanilla. But mine is a bit like, I don't know, I stopped putting it in my singles palette because it got a little weird. So I've been scraping off the top every so often, and I can exactly tell when I need to do that, because then this is left feeling a little sticky, and I don't like blending shadow on top of a sticky base. I just don't like it. So the MAC Paint Pot in Painterly, just for the fact that this is like, I buy one of these like every 2 years and I keep it in my collection all the time. So top 5 for sure. But where would we be without my OG love, MAC lipsticks? I still love some of these, I really do. But now that I've found Lisa Eldridge, I don't really wear many of my other high-end lipsticks, MAC included. But I have a couple of shades here that I just love. My favorite red from the brand, you know this if you've been around, Russian red. This is a bit of a deeper one. It's more like that, like classic red with a blue undertone, but it has a bit more depth to it. One of my favorite nudes is Mare. This is like a deeper nude. I used to have the matching lip liner, but I never wore it, so, and I don't love MAC lip liners, they're quite dry. And then Twig is my other favorite, like, neutral lipstick. This is a bit more brown toned, but it's got pink to it as well, which I think if you're looking for like good, cool, undertoned lipsticks, I think MAC is still a great brand to go to. Plus, if your country has back to MAC, if you've bought a couple of their products, they don't have to be empty, but if you're done with them, or if they're old, or if they're empty, you can take your old MAC products back to a MAC counter and you can get a free lipstick, which is why I've actually been able to like keep my MAC lipstick collection at a good level, because you can usually get a free lipstick quite easily. You can't buy like the newest of the new things, but their standard range, like these ones, you can get. So yeah, those are the products I wanted to show to you in this video today. These are my top 5, bottom 5 MAC products. I really hope it was useful to go over this with you, and that you now have a better idea what I would recommend from the brand, what I think the brand could either improve on, or that doesn't have to be your first purchase per se, despite what everybody else is saying, because I think that MAC face and body thing has definitely been hyped up quite a bit. But like I said, I have yet to try it, because I'm like, MAC undertones can be confusing. I already said it earlier. So yeah, that's it for me for today. Thank you so very much for joining me. Let me know in a comment down below what your favorite MAC product was. I would love to know. And then I look forward to seeing you in another video. Stay tuned, everybody, and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye-bye.